All right, so today's agenda, we're going to cover kind of a split topics today. We're going to do part one, brief intro to SkyGlass. I'm going to cover the same kind of basic intro level stuff I did last week. This top portion, sort of zero to hero, that's this side here. Just the essential UI, just the parts that I've learned have been the hardest sort of concepts, or really what's essential to kind of make the leap from a 2D web-based flight tracking experience, which you're all sort of used to this 3D experience, and not just moving around in the 3D, but really kind of like keeping the traffic load to, you know, where your computer can handle. That's really what frustrates most folks. If they don't really get an understanding of that, they can get into cul-de-sacs and it's not enjoyable. So I want to keep you in the clear, keep you flying straight and level, and you know, have a good experience. And then once we get over the intro stuff, we'll get into a deeper dive into part two, the pro and the pro level stuff, including 3D airspaces. We'll talk about Overwatch, geofencing. This might be really interesting for you, Rob, if you wanted to set up alerts of things that are coming into your AO specifically. And then we'll also talk about watch list alerts. We'll talk a little bit about watch lists in the intro, just to cover it, maybe show you how to pull down shared watch lists. And then we're going to cover the aviation performance circles, which is a brand new thing. And then we'll be opening up for Q&A. So I don't have my chat window open, so let me get that dialed in first. Apologies for that. No, let's put that off to the side. And all right, save. Okay. Hold on one second. So Ren, again, if you wouldn't mind monitoring the chat, and if there's anything, there we go. To everyone, where's everybody? Meeting group chat, there we go. Clear audio, thank you, Will. William, background works, but camera is fuzzed. All right, no problem, Frank, appreciate that feedback. All right, so I think there is like, again, I'm not as totally, you know, up to speed with Zoom, but if there is like a thumbs up or a thumbs down emoji thing that you can do, feel free to give me that feedback or drop some feedback in chat. That works too. And Ren is going to be my go-to chat monitor for today. Before we officially start, I gotta always give props to Thomas and Ren. They are two of my handful of super core beta testers. I really wouldn't be able to reach these milestones, get these new versions out without their awesome help in bug hunting and helping make bug squash, etc. So thank you guys so much for that. Really appreciate you being here and really appreciate all you do. It really is not lost on me. Love you guys. All right, so let's jump into it. Oh, okay, so let's make sure I covered all the logistical stuff. Unmute to ask a question. Mouse size is okay. Everybody see my mouse all right? We got a little circle around it too. Should be easy to see. You also see when I click, left click and right click. All that's good. Okay, and again, volume is all right. Excellent. All right. So, zero to hero. When you start out in SkyGlass, let me clean up my interface here and get it sort of back to what will be normal. Let's do this. And I'll dial in the essential settings, turn off, there we go, and back it up, and clear traffic. And we're in mill mode. All right, so when you first open up SkyGlass, you will have a perspective sort of like this, and you're going to be dropped into mill mode, and it should have the military traffic loading in auto refresh mode. All right, and we've got the satellite map. So let me clean my interface up as well. Okay. So the first thing you're going to want to know and understand, and this is, there's a handful of sort of, user interface levers that you always want to keep your hands on. Keep your hand on the stick in the sense of pilot talk. First one being how to scale the user interface. Everybody's got different screen sizes. You can move to a tablet, an iPad kind of format up to some huge screens, as well as when you're working with SkyGlass, things will happen in that new panels will come on the screen. You want to resize stuff. So you want to be able to sort of scale them at whim or at will. So first thing you do at the top of the main button stack being the one on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, there are a pair of up and down chevrons. Click, drag on that, and drag up, and you'll notice everything, all the user interface elements will scale. That sort of top level, the HUD in the top right. Move that out of the way. There we go. The main button stack stuff that's on the bottom right-hand corner, as well as you'll see a bunch of things sort of come up on the left. And we've got this, let me turn the auto refresh down to about 15 seconds. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to keep it sort of abnormally large for now, just so you can see everything real easy and for the recording. But depending on your screen size, you'll want to dial that up and down. And also, I guess, depends on how good your eyes are. Some of us older folks starting to lose our eyesight, don't have corrective lenses, so you want to scale that up. There's a few different ways to scale. This one is the user interface. Okay, so staying in that theme, scaling aircraft elements. In SkyGlass, there are a series of vertical sliders. You can see them here on the screen. Again, stacking out from the main button stack. We've got the auxiliary button stack, and then this first group of sliders. The first two are your main sort of go-tos. The second one with the little paper airplane, that is the scaling of all of the aircraft elements, okay? And I show this because not only just to scale it up so it's readable for you, but as you change your map zoom or you change the location and kind of what your setup is, you'll want to, first thing you're going to want to do is sort of make that adjustment of the scale of the aircraft. And then you'll want to do the next thing, which is the height adjustment slider, which is this next slider over. And you can see as we do that, this essentially stretches and squishes the aircraft in their relative altitudes. All right. First sort of, genius brainstorm that I had when I was developing SkyGlass into 3D was if you take that slider, height adjustment slider, bring it all the way down, this is actual altitude based on the map zoom. I mean, and if you're out this far, might as well have a 2D map, like, right? So what's the point? But created this height adjustment slider, stretches everybody up, and immediately when you do that, you can see, oh, I can still see who's at the ground level, who's flying up high. You kick it off to the side, and you get a real easy, intuitive view of who's high, who's low, what are the different aircraft levels or altitude levels that folks are flying at. Okay, so again, as you change your zoom, which is setting up for a different sort of mode, if you're in a continental view or more of a local view, first thing you want to do is adjust your aircraft scaling, and then you want to dial this height adjustment slider in so that you're basically seeing, something that makes sense. You're not cutting off the top high flyers, and you're not ever, squishing everybody down to the ground. If you're at an airport level and you're like looking at 50-mile grid, then you can bring that height adjustment slider almost all the way down, and then things kind of make sense from a realistic perspective. SkyGlass is not a true to 3D like realistic kind of a thing. That's not what we go for. This is a simulation to maximize your intelligence from an intuitive visual level. Okay, so let's talk about camera controls, because that's kind of the obvious one. That's going to be very easy for you to pick up though. Left click drag translates the map around. Super simple, basically, from where you have in every other application. Right click drag will rotate the camera. Now, the one important point here with the camera moves is you got to think about this like you've got a central location that's sort of out in front of you, and you're pivoting like you're on a dolly jig around that central point. Okay, you're not just turning your head, you're actually moving around sort of a central position. It's a way more intuitive sort of way to navigate, especially if you want to look at something. That something is sort of in the center and you're moving around it. All right. It's important because there's sort of two zoom type levels. There's the scroll zoom, which simply moves out your position from that camera pivot point. okay, like I'm doing here, and I'm just using my mouse wheel, pushing out. And then if we, push back in, let me turn on the camera targets. You can see that by default, these camera targets are on, so that purple target is always the center of your rotation. You get a visual cue there. Okay, this is very different from the map zoom, which is in a separate, separate slider here on the bottom. So again, we've got our main button stack on the right. The next group is the auxiliary button stack. The bottom of that stack has the map zoom, and you've got this sort of slider. Got a few controls. You got a slider here, which you can make a big sweeping adjustment, or you can step it up, step it down. So let's do that now. Cover a couple different things. I'm going to switch modes. So we're going to move out of military mode into standard mode. And we do that by clicking on this rank icon button in the main button stack, the star with 2 ranks on it. Click there. That's going to switch us out of military mode into standard mode. And you'll see we've got this thing that dynamically popped up. This is our location input panel or location chooser. And so let's dial in. Go back to my notes. What was it? All right, KMLU, Kilo Mike Lima Uniform. All right, so this is Rob's AO. All right, doesn't look like it picked it up. Sometimes, so this input panel, this goes out to Google and says, do you recognize this? You can put in like an address, you can put in a zip code, you can put in a city, whatever. Most of the airport codes it'll pick up, but doesn't look like it's doing that. All right, so Rob, why don't you tell me?
If you just do Mike Lima Uniform, it came up for me. Otherwise, it's zip code 71201.
So this came up, huh?
Yep.
Well, it's not doing it for me. All right, what was the zip code again?
71201.
71201. Let's see if that. Oh, there we go. All right, great. So first thing, it's sort of the workflow of dialing in the location. Let's say we want to do, sort of what's my area? We're going to want to go like 50, 100 miles, okay? First thing, grab the location. We've done that with the location input panel. Next thing we want to do is bring our zoom level up. So we can do that by clicking, or you can, once you get to familiar with sort of what the range of this slider is, you'll kind of know. If you go full on it, you're like at a block. It's very tight. It's like a quarter mile. And then all the way out, it's like 3,000, 6,000 miles. So you'll get to know what it is. For I like regional is a little bit about half, a little bit more than half. And you'll notice that when you're in standard mode, what governs the aircraft loading is a search radius box, okay? And now we've introduced this will be a very big distinction from all the older versions of SkyGlass. We now have a way to sort of automatically keep your search radius tied to your map zoom, okay? And you can see this big green box, that's the search radius. And as we zoom out or in, that box sort of follows the zoom level. All right, so it automatically adjusts. You can see we're at 100 miles now. If I go back in one click, we're at 50 miles, 27 miles, etc. So I would suggest leaving these on. They're on by default. There are these 2 toggles here. Link, let me pull this up a little bit higher. Link search radius to the map view, which is what we're doing here, and also linking the home location to the map view. Meaning, if I were to click and drag this map around, you'll see it's going to give you a little bit of time in case you want to make some more adjustments, and then it's going to rehome where that center of where your camera is to what you're looking at. That's now your new home location. Okay, so I like to keep these on. I think once you get familiar with SkyGlass and you want to experiment with it, you can turn them off, etc. But I would stay with the defaults for now. All right. So as I said, dial in your location, your pause, your AO, and then dial your zoom level in. So now we're at, let's back up a little bit. 27 miles is good. Let's actually go 50. That's good. And then we can load traffic. So on the main button stack, the top button is it is a load button, but it basically loads a snapshot. Just a quick one-time snapshot of all the traffic, loads it up. And now next thing you want to do is bring that height adjustment slider down so that you're seeing all the traffic. You can see those high flyers just kind of boom, pulled in. Now I'm going to change the scale so we get something nice and readable. Let me adjust the UI so they're not covering each other up. There we go. And now you can see
heard that N96 3 Lima Tango go overhead, so that was awesome.
Okay, good. So while we're talking about that, so right now I've made. Let's turn on in the auxiliary button stack towards the top section. There's this label icon. Click on that. That's going to give you a new pop-out panel that gives you ability to change what is displayed on every aircraft in the field. All right. If you hover over an aircraft, you can see a bunch of stuff happens. All the detail pops up at the aircraft position, and then on the top right, we've got the HUD, the heads-up display with even more detail. So let me jump over here and cover that sort of detail. And so they're basically mirrored. This section here is mirrored over the pop-up on the aircraft itself. So we have our call sign, we have the aircraft type. This is the ICAO identifier for that type. It's a short code for the type. Right below that is the transponder squawk code, what their transponder is actually dialed in and squawking. That's what's assigned by the FAA. This can change if they've got a 2-hour flight. Basically, it's going to hang with them the whole flight, but it changes every flight. Every time they get under air traffic control, they're going to give them a new squawk code. So you can't rely on that. The only interesting part is all uncontrolled aircraft are going to have the same squawk code. And there is a way to search on squawk codes, so you can look at all those flying under a VFR uncontrolled air flight rules, and they'll have the transponder code is 1200. Okay, so next across is here's the aircraft registration, November 212 Uniform Alpha in this case, and then the country code or the country that's been decoded from the registration. Below that is the hex code. Now this, interestingly enough, this is the unique identifier of the transponder in the aircraft. That doesn't change. That sort of sticks with the aircraft. It's kind of like the registration, but this is kind of what drives the whole system of what SkyGlass is. Transponders broadcast out to the local area, so other aircraft and air traffic control can pick it up. We've got a whole network of folks with the ADSB Exchange feeder network, of which I am one. Ren is one. I think Thomas might be one too. I can't remember. And we've got all little antennas with Raspberry Pis that are picking up this unencrypted transponder. Rob's one too. Excellent. And so that's what feeds the whole thing. So we got about 10,000 feeders across the planet, and that filters in. It's all based on a hex code. Anyway, so to continue. So below the aircraft identifying information is the telemetry. So we've got the altitude, current altitude, the speed, ground speed in knots, the VSI, vertical speed, how, if it's going up or down with a little indicator and a per minute foot readout. And then this last one is the direction, what they're tracking in that moment. Okay, so if you want to change what happens, what you're seeing for all the aircraft in the field, you do that via this little button, the button panel here. So right now the types are listed. We turn that off. You'll see they'll all go away. Make this a little bit larger. The call sign is the next option, or you can show just the telemetry, or you can show any combination that you want. So this basically mimics the HUD, or you can dial it in as you like. I like to kind of keep the, especially in military mode, like to keep the types on, so then you can kind of start to educate yourself on the different types and their missions, etc. If you watch one of our favorite influencers, Monkey Works, shout out to Monkey. Okay, and then if you're interested, you can also turn off the aircraft icon itself and strip it down to just the very, very basics, which is the chevron, which is the aircraft actual position in space, and then the other elements. So while we're here, the chevrons are three different colors. This sort of light blue or cyan, that is level flight. Red is descending, and green is climbing. Super simple. Okay, so a little bit more about the aircraft icons. You can think of Let me get this sort of dialed in. You can think of this octagon as a compass face. All right, so it's tracking the direction as if this were a cardinal, the cardinal direction. So basically, it's very easy, intuitive, regardless of your perspective. Sort of what here we're looking west, here we're looking north. That track in the icon octagon will always maintain its position, tell you where it's going. All right, and it's always going to face the camera. Right, the chevron is its position in space. Sort of that's realistic to its position or direction relative to the map. But I think you get it. Okay, good. So while we're here, did you have a question, Rob? You're good?
Sorry,
Okay.
this is super helpful and super detailed. I'm really admiring how well thought out it is. So I'm just jazzed here.
Appreciate that. Awesome. All right. So super excited about this new feature called forward positions. All right. So and this is for all levels, all subscriber levels, for basic as well. So let me turn off the labels and kind of clean up our interface a little bit. Okay. I'm going to turn on forward positions. Forward positions is in the auxiliary button stack in the top section here, kind of an obvious icon. And let me get my sliders back up. So this is where the other sliders start to come into play. The aircraft track and the forward positions are governed by this other slider. You can see it's got an icon of kind of like the aircraft traces is what we call it in SkyGlass. At any rate, so now I've turned on forward position, and you've got this new pop out saying the time span of this forward position. So basically what this does, it takes the aircraft speed, calculates where it would be based on that speed out 2 minutes. All right. So you can change that out to up to 5 minutes. I like to do 2 minutes because 2 minutes is actually, if you watch aircraft coming into a controlled airport, that's the spacing that they maintain. 2 minutes of space between every aircraft. So I kind of like to keep it at 2 minutes. But the cool part here is, let me back this up and load some more traffic. What I didn't sort of expect, I actually coded this because I wanted to be able to grab this forward position and integrate it into the geofences, right? Get kind of like a proximity alert as they come in. But what I realized, and this is the cool part, is that visually you immediately get a sense of the speed totally intuitively. Because all the longer noses, faster aircraft, lighter aircraft are going to be not as fast, or these, like this guy, this helicopter down here, very slow. So now you can get a very, very intuitive, quick view of the aircraft speed, and then dial it up, kick it off to the side. Now you got speed, altitude, all very intuitively. Now, if the transponder is broadcasting a track, meaning if they're turning and what degree the track is, then, and of course the vertical speed, if they're going up or down, you'll see that also reflected in the forward position. So it'll bend, and it'll bend down or up or corkscrew if they're in a tight turn, something like that. So again, really super fast, quick, easy way to see kind of intuitively what they're doing from a aircraft speed perspective. Forward positions, super fun. And I'll get into that a little bit more when we talk about the geofencing, because it plays into that new kind of geofence alert. Okay, so I think we've covered most of the essentials. All right, so let me just do a review again. We'll go the other direction. I'm going to, I guess this is a kind of essential piece. I'm going to back up a little bit more, load aircraft again, and you'll see as we back up, let me turn our height, the search radius box on. You can see we're starting to really stack up the aircraft, right? We're out 200 miles now. We've got 300 aircraft showing roughly. So let me draw your attention to the top right-hand corner of the screen. Above the HUD, we've got a readout of how many aircraft are loaded and what's on screen. All right, the first one, last load. This just means we went out and asked for how many aircraft were in this location and search radius. That was the raw return, 300 aircraft. What's actually been rendered on screen, 295. And of that, we've got 8 that are military and 19 that are masked. All All right, so now we're getting into the types, the classes of aircraft, not the type being like Cessna 172, Boeing 737, the class of aircraft. And this is something unique to SkyGlass. No other flight tracking app really does this discernment, and it's because this is unfiltered data. All right, ADS-B Exchange has no relationship with the FAA. They're not required to filter, so we can actually kind of do a reverse of that and show who's actually filtered. So the three classes are, you've got standard aircraft, you've got military aircraft, and then you have masked aircraft. Masked aircraft are those aircraft that have, registered with the FAA, kind of their pay to play, hide me from the public facing view from the feeds. And then military, also generally masked or not showing in most other flight tracking applications. There are some exceptions, but anything that doesn't fall into those two categories, military or masked, is everything else. So all commercial aircraft, all private aircraft, all the flight trainers that are out there doing work, anybody else that's not masked or military are going to be in standard class. All right, so as you can see on the auxiliary button stack at the top, we've got these three classes listed with a little bonus. So standard is the blue, military is orange, masked are magenta, and these are buttons you can toggle them on and off. So let me take out the standard, and now you're just left with military and masked. I'll turn off the military, and now we've just got the masked aircraft. You can turn everything off, which doesn't really make a lot of sense, but hey, who knows what you're doing. So in this way, we can kind of give if you just turn on, if you're in standard mode and turn on the military only, you've got kind of a geographic centric view of just the military. When you switch into military mode, that changes, and now you're loading all military traffic worldwide. When you're in standard mode, it limits again to the search radius. Okay, so I bring this up because depending on your mission, as far as what you're trying to get out of SkyGlass, if you're zoomed too far out and you have too much aircraft loaded, pretty much every machine is going to hit a limit. For my hardware, which is fairly modern, I've got a M2 class Apple Mac Studio. Pretty sweet, it's pretty snappy as far as graphics perspective. About 1,200, 1,500 aircraft, things start to slow down just from memory's perspective because it's really showing all aircraft. So you can dial things back in a sense of strip things back either by class. Let me load traffic again, or by another way. And there's other features that I'm not going to get into today with like categories, other types. You can filter by type as well. But anyway, so as we said, I'm at 850 miles. If I were to try and show all traffic, there would be 5,000 and change trying to render. Your machine's going to bog down. So dial it back either by search radius as the sort of most natural way. Dial in, tighten up your search rad, or peel out some of the classes based on what you're trying to do. Military and mass are kind of the low-hanging fruit from that perspective. Okay, but here's how you know. Again, last load number there. We've got 348 showing. The breakdown of masked and military, and then what's on screen is actually like what's actually in the screen. If you zoom in, now I've got only 54 on screen. Kick it up to the top view, you're going to have a little bit less. Back it up all the way till you got everybody, and they're going to match up. 348, 348. Okay, super clear. All right, so just to kind of recap, and we're kind of right at that 30-minute mark, which is what I was going to do for the intro class. Awesome, thank you. I was going to call you Seaman, Mr. Seaman. I'm hoping you're an old ex-Navy guy. All right, so just to recap, there are two modes in SkyGlass: military mode and standard mode. When you're in military mode, you don't need to filter. There's only usually about 700-800 military aircraft flying at any one time, so most computers can handle it. You don't have to worry about it. When you're in standard mode, you have to be very conscious of how much traffic is being loaded, and you can basically govern that by the search radius. And you want to do that first. You want to tighten up your search radius before you try and load the aircraft. Now, here's your escape route. If you start loading and you realize, oh my gosh, there's too much aircraft, what do I do? That's what this stop button's for. All right, so let me do that. I'll turn on everybody, and you can see they start to sort of march in. And as if you wait about halfway through the screen, it's going to just screech to almost a halt. It crawls, right? So this is where you go, hit the stop button. You may have to click it a couple times, especially if it's gotten really bogged down. It may not register that first click. And then you're like, okay, good. I've escaped. Now let me do something different. Let me dial in my zoom. So we govern our search radius. Clear traffic, meaning wipe everything away, is this next button over here, the flame with the aircraft. I call it the big burn. Burn traffic is going to unload everything, and then just kick on your auto refresh or your loading, and you're back in business. Okay, so standard versus military mode, that should be clear. Your main workflow when you change your map zoom, first change your map zoom, then you're going to dial in your aircraft sizing, and then dial in your height adjustment, so you basically get everybody on screen. All right. Real fast, I'll talk about the jumper and help. This is, if you're a brand new user, the help function, which is on by default, is excellent. And I've changed it with 2.1. You're gonna love this. So there's now sort of 3 modes. The original mode was this sort of like keep the help and stuck in one place on the, you can see as I hover over stuff. Now we've got a new mode that pops at your mouse location, so you don't have to fatigue your eyes jumping back and forth all over the place. And basically everything that's clickable will have a pop-up help. So it's the fastest way to sort of get a quick understanding of what this is. These trainings are the next sort of deeper dive. And there's a backlog of them now. We had 12, 15 to 20 hours worth of training. There's also a wiki for SkyGlass. It's not fully complete, but we're working on it. But that's another way, if you want something more text-based or readable, you can do that. I think pop-up help is really going to get you pretty far along the way. Okay, so I think we've done the basics. Oh, one more thing I want to talk about. I'm going to turn the pop-up help off. Is the jumper. The jumper is this target with a teardrop on top. I'll enable it now, and you can see in the center of our screen we've got this little thing which gives us a readout of what our home location is if we've dialed it in this way. Here's our zip code, and then there's a latitude, longitude. Now, I love the jumper because it's a quick way to move around the map. Double click anywhere on the map, and it's going to pop that jumper to it, do a reverse geocode lookup of that position, tell you what it is, meaning we just happen to get onto 435 Jack Crowell Road in Arrows, Louisiana. You might know where that is. And then it moves the camera and rehomes you. Okay, it does a bunch of stuff all in one move just with a double click. All right, so let me do that again. Double click, pop, 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 and you'll see the auto home will jump in there now. All right. So this is a nice way if you want to, if you can see out in the distance where you want to go on the map, just double click on it. Saves you from click, drag, click, drag, click, drag kind of thing. All right. So you can turn that on and off. The jumper also governs if you click on an aircraft, it'll move your camera and target. You can see the rotation of the target will move to that aircraft then. So this is another way to kind of quickly get to an aircraft perspective, dial that guy in. If you see him in the field, click on him and it pulls him up front, rehomes you. Okay? And if you want to get back to the map surface, just click on the map and that'll bring you down. Okay. All right, we're going a little bit over. How is that? Anything unclear you want a little bit more clarification on? Feel free to unmute. I'm going to take a drink.
That, to me, is fantastic. It clears up a lot of things on how to make it work more usefully for just right overhead, but also one of the times that I got back into it and tried to figure it out was during one of the Russian dead man switch things that one of my buddy who told me about SkyGlass called me up and said, "Hey, this is going on right now." It's like, right now? So trying to find out what's going on.
Cool. Good stuff. Great. Awesome. Thanks for that clarification there. Seaman 55, Marine. Hey, thank you for your service. Appreciate you. Awesome. Okay, so Let me think about that. Let me go back to, we talked about scaling the UI. We talked about the map zoom versus the scroll wheel. We talked about the aircraft size slider. We talked about the relative height slider. Those are really going to get you the hard points of what's different with SkyGlass. You may not know this, or you may not even noticed if you why it's so important to really manage your search radius. If you go out to any other of these flight tracking applications, the 2D ones, and you're out zoomed far, they only render the top sort of 400, 500, 600 aircraft. It's only when you actually, they don't try and render everything. SkyGlass will render everything. Well, if it's in that search radius, it'll try and actually paint it. I've been experimenting with and thinking about ways to sort of just give you the first, random 500, but I don't know, part of me just cringes at that because I want it to be sort of faithful, realistic or accurate. And in these other, the 2D ones, it's only when you actually zoom into an area and you've, filtered by the zoom level that you're actually getting all the aircraft on the screen. So that's why we do it. Okay. All right, so I'm going to close out the Zero to Hero part now. Hope we're all SkyGlass heroes at this point. Thank you for staying with us. With that, if that's all you want, feel free to stop the recording if you're watching. I don't want you to leave the room if you're here, but we're going to switch up to the Pro Plus level now. All right. Awesome. I don't know what I'm looking at. Oh, you took a screenshot.
I've got a dual screen laptop. The top is the screencast, and the bottom is me playing live in SkyGlass.
Oh, nice. Awesome. Love it. All right, cool. All right, so if you've got more questions about any of this kind of stuff about the intro part, feel free to jump in anytime, or we can save that to the end. Now I'm going to dial up some of the pro stuff. So let's go macro first. I'm going to stop the auto refresh. I'm going to clear traffic, do a burn. Your burn button is also very, very helpful. It's a nice way to just kind of, clear the palette and get back into it. All right, Bill, we're getting a little bit of background noise. So Bill Clark, I'm going to mute you. Okay, cool. All right, so now I'm going to change our map zoom to more of a continental size. Now I am and have been logged in with hey, Jack, good to see you, sir. Welcome. Thanks for turning your camera on. Awesome, awesome.
Good to see you again. Good to see you again.
Excellent, right on. That's your ham radio call sign, is that right?
That's correct. Yep, that's ham radio call sign there. You got it.
All right, yeah, good. I don't have my license yet. When I do, I'll put that up on the screen too.
Good.
I do
Good.
have my my valve hangs. Okay.
All right.
We digress here.
You can do a lot with that.
I'm excited. I need to do sort of that repeat. I need to work the muscle a few times. I've programmed in a little bit, but
muscle
anyway,
memory, yes.
Yeah, muscle memory, exactly. All right, so we're talking about weather now with 2.1, which is going to be out on Monday. Quick plug here: if you're interested, I've got aggressive specials this weekend now only. It's been last week and this weekend for Pro and Pro Plus. You can get 20% off. Once I put this out on Monday and go to release, those discounts will drop, and then we're going to run that for a few weeks, and then the discounts are going to go back to standard pricing. So if you want to get in on Pro or Pro Plus, and you feel confident that you're going to like it, jump into the longer time frames. I think with a multi-year with this 20% plus the multi-year discount, you're almost 50% of the cost. So anyway, it's a good deal. All right, so with 2.1, we've got some very cool weather stuff dialing in. Now, I'm logged in with, let me turn my targets off, just so we can kind of clean up the screen here. That's in the auxiliary button stack, this target icon, turn that off. In the main button stack, depending on your level of subscription, you're going to have more or less buttons here, okay? These top couple, this are the Pro level, and then these are the Pro Plus, okay? So I'm going to turn on the Pro Plus. We're getting a little bit of background still. Bill Clark, I'm going to mute you again. You got some background noise. There we go. There we go, perfect. Okay, so there are currently, but we're adding more, there are currently sort of two ways to get at weather information in SkyGlass. What everybody's used to and what's new in this version is weather radar. Okay, so you turn that on. We've got a little bit of an animated there, or you can turn off the animation. I'm going to turn off the animation now, just so we can kind of get the latest view here. Oop, there we go. All right, so that's sort of static, but you can immediately see where the rain is. Where's the precip, right? Very fun, but it's two-dimensional, still stuck on the map. So the next level is sort of AIRMETs and SIGMETs. If you're not a pilot, you probably won't know the difference, but AIRMET means an air meteorological event. AIRMETs mostly affect light aircraft, so Cessna 172s, your Pipers, that kind of stuff. Not the big heavies. They're not so interested in AIRMETs. SIGMETs, however, significant meteorological events, those affect all aircraft. All right, so if you're a pilot and you're flying, you got to know where the SIGMETs are. So let's dial those in. Let me turn the height adjustment sliders on. And now, if you're rendering some sort of airspace in these boxes, then you have this additional slider, which is the thickness of that box. You can see.
Okay, Mark included big launcher. These tubes are probably for artillery use. And the DOE agreed exactly.
Welcome, Ed. I'm going to mute you. Just going to get a background noise. All right, cool. All right, so as you can see, if you dial this slider up, it makes those thicker or thinner based on what you want. Now, if you kick it off to the side, this is kind of what I was getting at. Now you can see the altitude levels that this really is impacted. So the FAA, aviationweather.gov, has put out this little SIGMET box. You can see it's very clearly over the precip area. All right. And now you've got an understanding of, oh, this is higher level, this is lower level. If you hover over it, you get kind of a icon and a call out of what that is. Those are governed by the slider as well, the size of those. And then you also here, depending on what kind of airspace you're trying to display, you'll have this another pop-out window here on the left, which will sort of build up what types of airspaces are presented on screen. All right, so now let's do AIRMETs. All right, so now you can see we've got some more AIRMET, or different things. I can turn on the labels for each of those. We'll do that now in the airspace panel. We've got a labels icon, and now I can dial those to see something that's a more readable side here. And you can see now we've got turbulence AIRMETs. We've got an icing AIRMET here up in the northeast. These are our convective SIGMETs. And then we've got some visibility AIRMETs. Viz AIRMETs are for IFR. Visibility is so low that you got to be in, that's what they call IMC, instrument meteorological conditions, have a different set of flight rules. IFR, instrument flight rules, is what that means. So these blue areas, if you're landing in a blue area, you're going to have to be under IFR. That's IMC. All right, and then you've got these. So what I think is so cool, so the visibility is always going to be pretty much stuck on the ground, right? Because that's where it affects. Turbulence, you're going to have higher levels. Very cool though to see the icing levels. And again, these are all height adjustment slide, malleable. Let me bring the camera up a little bit. So you quickly can see, wow, you got some high level turbulence, mid-level icing conditions. We got some other turbulence down on the ground level here around these storms. Makes perfect sense. Cool. So I think with your radar and then the AIRMET SIGMETs, wow, you've got 3D weather, first time ever. I don't know that anybody else is doing this kind of stuff. I'm super proud of what SkyGlass has been able to do with this level. I will tell you, I'm experimenting with using the tops and bottoms of the METAR. METARs are sort of the stations at the ground where airports are. They talk about we're at scattered clouds, bottoms at 1,500 feet. Playing around with trying to dial in some more visual, intuitive ways to get at 3D weather, because I really think that's where that's where it's got to go, 3D. But I think this gives you an immediate intuitive feeling of what's actually happening from an airspace perspective, just with these couple little handles. Got your radar and your AIRMET SIGMETs. Okay, so that kind of covers the weather piece. I will show you, we do have satellites also coming. That's in testing right now. Couldn't really bring this through for the release, but it's going to be short on the heels, probably in a couple weeks. Probably by the end of October, this one will be there. And then you've got some more fun sliders, of course, with the transparency level of each layer, so you can really dial in and not, tune your mission or your view based on your mission, what you're trying to look at. And just because I haven't done it doesn't mean you can't actually load aircraft. Let's jump into military mode and get some mil traffic going. There we go. And let me dial the UI down a little bit so you can see everything. Incidentally, bottom of the main button stack is this little kind of collapse button. Click on that and it will hide most of the UI to kind of clean you up. So you can kind of really see, boy, isn't that pretty? I'm loving how SkyGlass is looking these days. So neat with the satellite and the radar. It's still new to me. We just started dialing this in the last few weeks, so I'm so excited about it. Anyway, what I was going to say, so if you want, all this is shareable. Right in the main button stack, you got a camera icon. Click there, boom. Now you got a screenshot. Go out to social. I will tell you, I'll work some sort of a deal. Do a screenshot, post it on social, get back to me on the website, give me some evidence, and I'll do something for you. I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet, but we'll do something. Got to push that social, right? Anyway, so quick grab screenshots right there. Let's talk a little bit more about the pro level features. Okay, so I'm going to turn off the weather. There you can see I've got METARs, and these are my in development little panels for our testers here. You know what? I'm feeling moved. Let's do a little bit of playing around with that. Let me turn off the radar. Let's dial in my AO, which is around, I'm in South Florida. So we're going to go into Miami, dial this up a little bit, just so we see the kind of state level back up a little bit. There we are. Boom. Turn off auto refresh. And so one thing I'm kind of thinking about, flight conditions, every airport are they VFR, marginal VFR, or IFR? That's a quick way to sort of look at. So again, kind of easy visual. We also got some wind information that we're kind of dialing in, and temperatures. And then the sky, this is kind of what I was showing you before, or telling you about before. We've got these different cloud layers. Wow, there's a lot of cloud layers right now. You can see there, if we pan around to the side.
Well, there was a hurricane.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. All right. So again, this isn't not fully baked yet, but I'm playing with some stuff on some more weather related detail. All right. So let me clear all that. Clear the panel for testing. And all right, so let's get into geofences. Overwatch is the new geofence system within SkyGlass. It's got a lot of fun sophistication to it. Let's see here. Jack, where are you located, sir? You're muted, sir. Can't hear you. Let's play around.
Okay, yeah. I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Broken Arrow, little suburb.
All right, here we go, Oklahoma. All right, so there's lots of different ways to do geofences. First thing you got to do is define your fence, right? So there's lots of different ways to do that. Most often what inspired this actually was people were like, I just want to know what's around my location, right? So easy way to do that. First, to turn on your Overwatch is this alert button here with the big yellow triangle. Click on that. Let me burn my current ones so we don't need any of those. Okay, now you've got this Overwatch panel that pops. All right, so we have our home location that's dialed. In the Overwatch panel, we click on plus. Here are the four sort of manual ways to dial in your Overwatch. Okay, first one is very simple. One button click, put one around my home location. Boom. Now you can see we've got this little geofence that's arrived, or that's rendered around Tulsa. Again, in this search radius box or this input panel, you can type in your address and dial it directly in. And then let me close the create Overwatch panel. The height and the radius are in a preference, which you can set here. Let me make this larger. Okay, so click on the config panel, the config button in the Overwatch header, and now you've got, okay, Overwatch defaults, 2,000 foot, 5 miles. Okay, so if you want to make this 50 and 100,000, whatever you like, but that's the sort of one button, paint this fence in a circle around my AO. All right. Let's turn on this new cool thing in 2.1, predictive alerts. This takes in account the forward positions, and if the forward position intersects your geofence, it's going to give you a different type of alert and actually tell you proximity alert, this aircraft, this speed, this distance, etc. All right, so let's turn that on. I'm going to keep it at 2 minutes, and let me close the config panel and go back to the create. Okay, so the quickest way, again, what's around me, home location, assuming you've got your defaults set up. If you want to take that sort of the next level, click on central position. Central position gives you a way to kind of do the same thing, but more manually. Put in a different location, but it's only going to draw a circle, okay? And then you can dial in the radius here and the upper and lower limits. Doesn't have to be on the ground. You can put it from 5,000 to 10,000 feet, or whatever's your pleasure. But this is how to do something, again, in a circle around a central location with altitude limits and a radius, all right? Useful, not so exciting. Let's get into the exciting part. I'm going to close that. All right, I love this one. This is my favorite. Draw a custom area. So let me burn my Overwatch. So we're going to clear it, remove all, create, draw a custom area. All right, now start clicking around the map. Click, click, draw your boundary. You can see the latitude and longitude are actually giving you the readout. Hover near that first one to close it. And now you've got a draggable upper limit. And now you've got this very, very intuitive, very quick and easy way to draw a very customized, personalized geofence. All right, and then again with your upper limit, you can dial in a low, you can make an adjustment on the lower limit once it's saved. So let's do that. Let's bring this up to like 5,000 feet. And you can manually, you can do the handle change, or you can dial this in 5,000, and then it's going to require a label. You got to give it a reason, or something to identify it. So let's pull this in. Let's call it Tulsa 1, and make Overwatch. And now, if we go to our Overwatch, you can see that here. Cool. So let's load up some traffic. And see, I'm sure we're going to get something over. I'm not sure where the airport is over Tulsa, but we'll see. Okay, so let me actually, before we do that, let me show you how to make adjustments. This is also new, this editing ability in 2.1. I'm sorry, wrong config panel. There's a config button in the Overwatch entry itself. Click on that, and now you've got a couple things. You can adjust the label. You can adjust the description into something that's more meaningful. Right now, it's just kind of giving you some basics. Not really necessary because we also have the upper and lower limit. And now we've got some cool other features. If you're like, I want to cut this in half, you can split it vertically with this button here. It'll basically, you can take, this one's 5,000 feet, cut it at 2,500, and then you can dial those in as you like. You can also do the deletion here, or you can, cancel your adjustments or make a save. There's also some handles here. So let's say you want to bring this up or down. You can do that here.
So split makes it so you could have a gap in between?
Let me show you. Yep. So let me save this, edit. I'm going to split Overwatch, and you'll see this will be cut in half. Boom. Now we have two Overwatches. One's an upper and a lower. Yeah. This was actually inspired by, I got a phone call from an Army range controller over Yuma. So in the Yuma area, there's some test ranges, right? And he's basically control area or controller for that area. And he wanted a couple of features, which I've all dialed in now. He's like, I want to be able to split them vertically and turn them on and off. So we've got our split vertical, and then you can actually make an Overwatch cold or hot based on this little toggle here. So now we got the top one's cold. Now it's hot again. Now bottom one's cold. All right. So now let's load some traffic and see what we got here. I'm going to drop into standard mode. We're at 200 miles. That should be fine. I'm going to dial that down a little bit. Hit go.
The Tulsa airport shares the same airport with the guard base there too.
Nice. Yeah, so we'll definitely get some traffic in there. Okay, good. So
You want to make sure people are in their window. So that makes sense.
awesome. Okay, so a couple things happen. I'm going to turn on auto refresh and give you a little bit of a deeper dive here with these panels. You'll notice if you click on any of these little equal signs in the panel headers, you can move the panel around. If you double click on it, let's do that one. It'll rehome itself. So like this one is usually docked to the Overwatch panel. So let me move that over. And now you can see, since we've got a lot more capabilities, growing with SkyGlass, if things are over each other, right click will move it to the back. Left click will move it to the front. So left click brings up this, now we can have access to this airspace toggle. These are our watchers here. You can just visually turn them on and off. Okay, so let me make sure. Okay, good. So now we got a couple of differences here. These yellow ones are standard alerts, meaning they're actually in the airspace. And then these other ones are proximity alerts. The magenta are proximity alerts. And let's turn on the voice alerts. And Lily's up, so let's leave her there. And I'm going to turn on the show aircraft traces. So once they become an alert, they're going to load the traces.
SCU 56 inside of Tulsa 1. SCU 31 inside of Tulsa 1. SCU 45 inside of Tulsa 1. SCU 4 inside of Tulsa 1. SCU 54 inside of Tulsa 1 lower. Aircraft 3 Charlie Alpha inside of Tulsa 1 lower. SCU 34
Pretty good.
inside of Tulsa 1 lower. Aircraft 3-6 Foxtrot inside of Tulsa 1 lower.
So I've been playing around with Sophie.
Aircraft 1 Charlie Tango inside
And
of
let me
Tulsa
clear
1.
the alerts and then reload here. It'll load in the next one. So I did this because it was like, you want to set SkyGlass on, put it in the background, walk away. And if you hear her say something, you're like, I'm going to run back over to SkyGlass and check out what's happening. There are sort of two sound features. There's a
proximity alert. Aircraft 218 is 0.2 from Tulsa 1. CU 31 inside of Tulsa 1. CU 40 inside of Tulsa 1. Proximity alert. Aircraft 18 Whiskey is 0.
So you can turn on the voice alerts, which is megaphone. You can also just turn on a little ding. That'll happen. Let me load traffic again. We'll get the little ding. You can hear that anytime there's a new voice alert or a new alert aircraft entering that airspace. It's going to give you a ding. There are also in Pro Level, you can set alerts for your watch list aircraft. Okay, anytime that they take off or become, back, they're on screen now, or they're landing. There's 4 different kind of levels of alerts. The important ones are off, off and on. Are they taken off ground or on ground again? And then there's this sort of out and in aviation management. They're called the OOIs, OOOI, out, off, on, in. Anyway, the on and ins are the most important. You can turn those on for your watch list aircraft, and they're going to give you a slightly different tone in that auditory, or in that sort of the bell. Okay.
Since you're here, just to confirm, the
Yes, sir.
Tulsa 1 upper, you could make the bottom range of that 2,000, 2,500 to 3,000, right? I mean, it
Absolutely.
will get me to. Okay.
Yeah. So just make a
Or lower the bottom one, right?
click on the. So let's bring the top one up. So let's make this. So I kind of like to go, to this. You make this above, slightly above the field altitude, then you're not going to get stuff that are taxiing around, right? So just stuff that's off the ground. So that's one way to do it. Yeah, there's a couple different ways to dial it in. You'll also notice we've got a couple little graphs here, which is kind of fun. Let me turn the auto refresh up. I'm going to turn the sound off. I'm going to turn the traces off as well. That's where the alerts. There we go. Turn off traces. Okay, there we go. Perfect. So this gives you a little graph of the amount of traffic that have been penetrating or in that airspace. What kind of alert levels have happened. So every time you do a reload, it's going to add another little bar. And then there's just some sort of arbitrary thresholds. I think it's above 50 aircraft or above 25 aircraft, you're going to get in the red zone. Anything over 1 is going to be green. And then if it's low, then you've just got an easy little teal bar there. Ren, did you have some feedback, something to say? Nope, you're good? Okay, awesome. So kind of fun, kind of easy way if you walk away, come back, you can kind of see the progression of what's been happening over time, which can be helpful.
Yeah, you could run out there and get your binoculars and look up in the air when you got that alert going on and see a plane nearby.
Exactly. So I'll mention this. When you've dialed in your home location with a radius, right? There's 2 different ways to get the alert. Go back to the config panel here. So we've got bearing to target, target being the center of that space, or we've got the Overwatch that's been breached. All right. Depending on what you're trying to do, I kind of keep mine in the Overwatch breach, but if you put it on bearing to target, then it says, cool, we've got traffic at certain number of miles. You should be getting a bearing. Let me see here. All right, got a little bug I need to fix. But you would be getting a bearing and an altitude level. So basically it's kind of going to give you okay, you're bearing, 200 degrees. So you're like, okay, now I need to go look out this window in that direction at that height, and that'll give you that kind of a location. Yeah, certain number of miles, 1,500 feet, what they're doing. All right. Okay, and this may be because there's no central position. I bet that's why. So let me just test that. I'm gonna burn our Overwatches, clear our alerts, and I wanna create my home location, quick and easy, and close that. And let's load traffic again. Oh, all right, so let's make this a little bit larger.
Would it also work with the central position too? Or is
Yes.
home going to give you the outer bearing?
Well, it's whatever you've used as the central position for your Overwatch area. So in this case, since we did the quick and easy way, it was whatever our home location was. Let me make this 25 miles, since we're going to get a larger span here. I'm going to burn, remove, create again. There we go. Nope. All right, I got a bug I got to fix. No problem. That'll be in before Monday for sure. Anyway, okay, so Overwatch, I think we got a good comprehensive look at the Overwatch system. You can share your Overwatch lists if that's important to you. You can export them here, import, export, save it out to a JSON file and import them. And you can also keep one copy of yours sort of in the cloud on the SkyGlass server. So you can push that out to the server, go over to another computer, pull from the server. That's a quick way to do it, sort of back and forth. All right. So the other way to do airspace, which is sort of my favorite way, I'm kind of playing with I'm an amateur controller now. Let me turn these off. I'll turn off auto refresh. I'm going to burn the traffic. I'm going to burn our geofences, kind of start from scratch. Okay. So with Pro and Pro Plus, you've got airspaces of anything in your local area here. So let me turn on show all airspace. It's going to go pull a bunch of airspace information, start rendering these on the screen. Let me move this over again. And as our different airspaces are rendered, you'll see this list is growing. Dial this down a little bit. So now we've got our Overwatches, alerts, military operation areas, Class B, Class D, et cetera, et cetera. So what I wanted to get at here, oh great, so let's jump over to this Class B airspace. Use the jumper.
And this
to do
is just
that.
within the search area, right? So there's
Correct.
a lot of information popping up.
Yeah,
just in
yeah,
the search
yeah.
area.
Yeah. So now, if you're over CONUS, we get kind of two ways to do this. I've more recently discovered this other API endpoint, this other data source, which just pulls all airspaces. Find this a little bit easier for beginners, but you'll notice if you're over CONUS, this part isn't the show all airspace is global, very cool, international, Australia, Japan, Europe, everything, everywhere. It's a comprehensive list. Strangely, Mexico isn't in the database. I don't know why, but you're not going to get certain locations are not going to have airspaces. But if you're over CONUS, there's additional sort of single draws you can do. Click on the airspace, and then these are the FAA data sets that I've loaded in, and you can just render the Class Bs, or the Class Cs, et cetera, et cetera. The distinction being, and this is why I really like this sort of show all, is that they manage when a restricted area goes hot or a TFR goes hot, they'll turn them on and off versus these are just what's out there, and I haven't done the work to actually try and determine if it's active, if it's not active, something like that. So at any rate, so my point to you, Jeff, is if you wanted to look at, hey, I just want to look at all the MOAs across the country, you can do that via this. Turn on the airspace, go down to the MOAs, get your search radius dialed in and click it, and it'll render all the MOAs that are in the database in 3D. Super, super fun. And kind of surprising, like, wow, there's a lot of military operation areas across the country. Anyway, so let's, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to peel back some of this data via this panel here. So basically I'm going to click on the stuff that I don't want to see. I want to keep the Class B. Cool. So now we're just looking at Class B. Let's get the controlled airspace in here just for kicks. So I'm basically turning on the C and D level. Again, we've got this slider to look at the thickness. So now we got something that's kind of nice and easy to see. And their labels, especially these guys, are kind of ganged up because they're all, centrally located. But at any point, if you hover over an airspace and it becomes highlighted, if you right click, you can make that rendered airspace a geofence. Okay, so as we see here, boom, and now you can see it's turned yellow, and now we've got a geofence. So let me just kind of dial in all the different layers of this Class B cake here. So I'm hovering, I'm searching for these other, there's the other one, boom. All right, so now we basically have all of the different airspaces for this Class B converted now into Overwatch areas. Okay, so now let me peel off all the airspace. Now we can just see the Overwatches. I'm going to zoom in one more level. Okay, now the label has been pulled from the data, so we can change that. And I've got a couple of little widgets here which are kind of fun. I've noticed that. Let's see here. Oh. Okay, so this one is saying we got Kansas City Class B Area D excluding ABC. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to take out the last bit there, excluded. Now we've got a couple little buttons here to just kind of quickly do an edit. Trim to first, meaning it's going to trim to the first word. Trim to last, trim to just the last word. Or there's this other one, which is kind of a fun thing I did because I knew the Class Bs or these controlled airspaces do this when they're stacked up on each other. This is going to take the first word and the last letter and expand that last letter into aviation terminology. So this should, if all goes right, will become Kansas Delta. And we can save it and then rinse repeat on these other ones. Kansas Alpha, and then this will be Kansas Charlie. Great. So now your alerts are going to be a little bit easier to quickly determine which airspace is which. Let's load some traffic and see what we get. So if you're over an area that's got a lot of complex geometries as far as the airspaces go, and you want to use those for geofences, super easy. Show them on screen, right click on them, make Overwatch, and you're good to go. All right. Any questions? You can pause there. Take a drink.
We were checking out the discounts, and we're trying to figure out if we misheard you earlier about a 50%.
What I was saying was, so the discount codes that are available now during the pre-release, which will end this tomorrow night, are extra 20% off. The multi-year, because of the extended, is already discounted 30%. So if you take the basic price if you take the pro monthly and extend that out to 36 months, and then with the automatic discount for multi-year plus the 20%, you're at almost half, or
That's
whatever.
fantastic.
Already 30 plus 25 or 20% off that. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. You bet. Any other questions?
Go ahead.
Great question. Thank you. Yeah.
Go, you got a question on airspace. Is Arctic and Antarctic, is it available in the chat?
Ooh, that is something I have not tested. Let's figure it out. Let's check it out. All right, so let me burn my airspaces, burn the alerts. Let me just turn the alerts off. And what's going to be the easiest way to do this? All right, so let me burn. So I'm not going to, let's go to mill mode just so it'll be easy. Dial this way out. And let's check out Antarctica. Oops, turn the jumper on. All right, so let's see here. Oh, it's getting a little nuts on me here. All right, when you get to these sort of edge cases of the map, it gets a little squirrely as far as what it's trying to know. All right, so let's stop there and let's see what we get. Oh, cancel. All right, so there are a little bit of are you sure you want to try and load a whole lot of stuff? So let's do this. Let's expand the map a little bit. Let's try and get something over. Let me try and get to the edge of Antarctica just so that'll be. I have no understanding of, I'm not familiar with Antarctica as far as an airspace. I know we've got military installations and there's certain places that are probably controlled. I'm not sure if out here on this finger is one of them.
I've heard there are very large no-fly zones, but it's a fun test.
Yeah. All right, let's see here. All right, so it's going to give. All right, let's just do it anyway. Let's see what happens. Turn off the jumper. So it's kind of get this swath. I didn't really. This is kind of an education for me when I started to build SkyGlass. I've never been a cartographer or anything like that. I always knew that there were some, like, when you're looking at a 2D projection of a round sphere, they do a little fudging, right? Well, like this box is square, right? But it's obviously elongated, and it's because it's only actually square if you're over the equator, right? And it gets stranger as you move away from the equator. So that's why these edge cases are kind of bizarre. I'm not seeing anything. Doesn't look like it's probably erroring out. Not seeing anything there. Let me do it one more time. Stop and load, see if we can actually get an error message. This is a little debug window. I will chase this down though. Based on our quick results here though, I'm going to say no, probably not. The data source is of a European outfit that's more geared for hang gliders. But they've got a great data set of controlled airspaces. That's what I'm pulling from. So it may be because we don't have any hang gliders or a non-powered flight out in Antarctica. Only the real brave will get up there. Anyway, so that's my conjecture. I don't know, but I'll check into it. I'm gonna write that down. Now, North Pole-ish. Let's see how far we got anything on the northern
Yeah, they're
side.
also asking about Alaska airspace.
Yeah.
We just need to encourage more hang gliding there.
It's kind of fun when I got this data source and started poking around at some of the what am I trying to say? The international airspaces. They have a lot of airspaces that are defined for parachute jumping. They have a whole classification, parachute. Like we don't have that here. I I mean, I always they have spaces that they know that they always parachute over, but they're not defined like they are internationally. So anyway, so there's some. If you go internationally, I actually went out, created an icon for it, and all that jumpers, the old jumper airspaces. I think they show up as pink. But anyway, all right. So let's see if we can get Alaska to some degree dialed up.
I was really amused a few minutes ago at managed to find a hot air balloon.
Nice, yeah, yeah. I finally got those the icons defined. All right, so we got a lot of controlled airspace over Alaska. Yep, not a problem. And so, just so you know, what SkyGlass tries to do is, if an airspace, and it's a little fuzzy, the calculations are all kind of different. If the airspace intersects or comes close to the search radius box, it'll draw the whole airspace. So that's why you see these ones are kind of off to the side here. They're trying to pull the right data, but so I think these are MOAs. Yeah, got a bunch out here on the sides, and some restricted looks like. Yeah, so yeah, you're gonna have really good data over U.S. stuff. I think that's also why. Probably over Canada as well.
Now, how do you adjust that little square rectangular box there, that yellow box?
Yeah, so let me turn off the link so I actually get this handle. That's actually, taken from that central position, 250 miles up and down.
Okay.
And it's because of the map projection. This is actually 250 miles. Doesn't look square, but it is square if you were to kind of, get over that area specifically. So it does look a little weird, but not a bug. It's just the fudging that we do to try and look at 2D stuff. So if I go to, let's hop down to more central over South America. There's probably here, right? Yeah, there we go. Oops. Wait for this update. Let me turn off airspaces so we're not loading so much stuff. Click over to Central America, probably close to an equator. There we go. And yeah, now we get a much closer actual square-ish. You'll also notice if you move to more of a top-down perspective, the labels will flatten up. Let me load traffic and dial up some labels. So a little bit easier to see if you're from a top-down perspective. See, they kind of rotate around. And then if you get back up to the States, once you get up top, they'll kind of flatten and all go straight up. Incidentally, there is a button for that. If you're off 3D, turn off the jumper. In this camera sort of section here, this double circles, click on that. It's going to pop you to that top location. If you don't do a move, rotation move, it's going to remember your last position. So if you click again, it's going to bring you back. So that's a quick way to kind of go top down, off to the side. It's also going to automatically, when you go top down, it's going to flatten the height adjustment slider for you. You'll notice that'll happen. And then if you click again, it's going to bring it back to where it's going to remember your last setting. Okay, cool. So I'm going to open up for questions. Let me do one last thing, just because I know we're probably all Monkey fans. Let's show his watch list. So I'm going to clear all traffic. I'm going to open up my watch list. I probably have a lot on my watch list. Yeah, I do. So let me wait for that. I'm going to burn my watch list just so we're starting from scratch. Okay, so when you open up your watch lists, I'll burn traffic again. All right, this will be how you are when you get started. In the watch list header, this arrow button on the right will expand the little pop-out header. And then in this section, let me turn the help on. There we go. This one is download a shared watch list from other users. Click on that. It's going to open up this list. And why isn't the list loading? Turn the help off. Hey, Ren, will you check on your local SkyGlass and see if the maybe a problem with the server? Should be getting a list of all the different aircraft or all the different shared watch lists, but I'm not seeing it. Do a full burn. You got a list, Rob? Okay.
Yeah, I'm pulling Monkey and getting that set 57 of 3,257 right now.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, this I've got a bug to work out with this pre-release version. I'll check it out. But yeah, you'll get a list of watch lists, who it was from, the label of the watch list, if it's been downloaded or how many likes it's got, etc. So that's where you grab the watch list. All right.
Yeah, I'm not getting the list either.
Okay. Yeah, it must be a pre-release bug. I'll work that out. And then you've got a bunch of different functionality here. Incidentally, let me load some traffic. If you right-click on an aircraft in the field, oh yeah, this is something I haven't done yet. So first off, if you're in pro level, if you right-click, you get a few different things. If you're in the basic level and you right-click, it adds it to the watch list. So you can quickly add to the watch list, and then you'll see it's going to show up with a different aircraft octagon color and border, and then it'll show up in your unassigned group here. Let's do that. Let's turn off the watch list and talk about the visibility circles. So Pro Plus level again, if you right click on anything in the field, you've got these two aircraft performance visualizers. First one is max visibility. And basically this says what's their line of sight. So both from the ground and from the sky, what's the maximum distance given perfect conditions, right? Based on curvature of the Earth and their altitude. There also is, if you right click on it, you can hide that geometry. It also has some generalized glide ratios loaded up. So this is based on the different class. You can see if they were to lose power, but still had good flight capabilities, this is their max distance of glide. And you can do this for multiple aircraft. And they will follow once you're in auto refresh mode. They'll stay with the aircraft and adjust based on their altitude, etc. So that's a fun one to, let's do that. Let me open up on my watch list. I'm going to stop auto refresh, do a quick burn. I'm going to pull my watch list from the server. All right, good. So the server's okay. Okay, and so what you can do here is, again, Pro Plus level. Once you get a nice watch list dialed up, let's see, let's go look at the Hubballs that are up. Where's my Hubballs? Oh, let's pull a different one. Oh, military real-time balloons. Yeah, that's probably where some of the Hubballs are. Yeah, so you can, actually, let's do this a little differently. All right, let's do a little bit of database work. I think this is kind of fun. We'll go international too. All right, so I'm going to open up my database, which is this in the auxiliary button stack. Got our database button here. It's going to load the database if you haven't already loaded it. Got over 600,000 aircraft in this database. And there's this new type of BT, is it BTB2 or B2BT? B2, I think this is it. We'll see. A Turkish military drone manufacturer of type B2BT. I think it's B2. Let's try that. All right, I'm going to search on type. That's not it. BT, B2, search. There we go. Yeah, this is this manufacturer, Baraktar. Very interesting bunch of these. So let's do this. I'm going to add these all as a group. BTB2 drones. All right, so now we've got them all added as a group. I'm going to close this database list, and let's see. I'm going to reload my watch list.
That's weird.
Usually, yeah, there's a bunch up, 4, 5, or 6. All right, so let's go check out Turkey, see what's going on. Wait for this list to join, render up. Yeah, we're over this area, right? This is Turkey. Yeah, I'm not seeing any of those drones. Well, very interesting. All right, so let's just do this while we're here. C-17s, great, we got 5 of them up. So my point was that I wanted to show you was you can turn on max visibilities for an entire group. In the watch list group entry, you've got this little expanded button here, and then you've got an eye in a circle. Click there, and now you'll see we've got max visibilities up for all those different aircraft. So let me zoom out now again, you'll see the different and we've got a few over in the States too. Anyway, all right. Any questions? I'll pause there. Pilot Dude, welcome.
Rob is,
Go ahead.
Rob is asking about a Linux version. Any thoughts?
Yeah,
future?
so we don't have a native Linux version. I'm not a full-on Linux user. I don't actually have any access to Linux like computing hardware apart from Raspberry Pis. I have a few people have told me that if you are using Wine, which I think is a Windows emulator, you can run SkyGlass via Wine. I've only had feedback.
Because,
Go ahead.
sorry, I'm laughing because wine is spelled out. Wine is not an emulator.
Oh, that's what wine means. That's funny. I did not know that. That's cool. All right, Rob, you get points for that one today. That's super fun.
And if you have any interest in testing a Linux version or even just knowing what's going on, that's my daily drive.
Oh, good. All right, I will make a note of that. Will you jump on the website and send me a quick text there in the chat window just so I can lock you into that customer service? That's very cool. So I develop in Unity, which the reason why I did Unity is because once you have your code base, you can publish to all the different platforms, even like Xbox and PlayStation and all that fun stuff. Anyway, there are 2 versions of Linux that I can publish to. I've tried. They haven't been successful builds, but it won't be hard. And if I've got somebody that can test, that'd be great. Thank you. I'm sure Lynn would be interested in being part of that too. So thanks. That's awesome. Rob, you also may want to be anybody. At the bottom of the webpage, there's a footer that has a few links to the social. One of them is Discord. So you're welcome to join the Discord server. That's where the really all the action is as far as my communication with the folks on a daily level. I hang out there every day. I post the links to the beta. I post when there's a new update. The system statuses are there. The status of the release notes are there. It's a great place to hang out. Ren and Tom and I are in there every day. Brainstorm's also got a great Twitch stream. He hangs out in there too. Anyway, so join the Discord server and you can talk to me there too. Also a great place for help when I'm not online. Cool. Any other questions?
I had a question there. Let's see, can you watch this later if we didn't start with the beginning of the program somehow, some way?
Absolutely.
And
yeah, I'm going to post this on YouTube and also on my on the website in the tutorial section. Yeah.
I thought of a second one. Have you had any luck trying to do remote desktop? In other words, if I've got a nice Windows machine that can run stuff, but I want to be on my laptop somewhere else.
I do that all the time, actually. Yeah, I've got a couple of different Windows boxes that I've set up as testers. Um, I've got a cool one too. This is so fun. I have a round 5-inch HD display, and I'm kind of experimenting with this kind of like this shelf top radar view, SkyGlass, always running just on, and I could just look over and go, oh, there's traffic happening. Yeah, I think it's going to be a great little platform for this kind of stuff. They're not cheap. They're a couple $100 just for the monitor. Plus, you got to put your computer hardware on it, and you got to want to have something that's sort of micro to kind of hide it behind. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, I use screens, which kind of piggybacks on VNC if you're familiar with that stuff. But yeah, absolutely, you can do. There's a little bit of latency depending on what you're using for the screen stuff. But I think that's great way to do it. I use it all the time. Any other questions? Good stuff today. This has been really fun. We're getting down. We're at our 90 minutes now, but I'm happy to stay as long as there are more questions.
I was going to ask another one. Do you have any kind of like a compass? I mean, it shows the bearing up there in that information, but do you have anything like a little compass thing that shows you maybe somewhere on the map the compass bearings?
The numbers themselves, no. If you kick it off to the side, we've got some big, north, south, east, west on the background. I don't know if you noticed that, but that's kind of the easy way. Again, let me clear some of this stuff here. Let me turn off the jumper and let's get into an aircraft. So you've got the bearing. So these are not there. That's probably good. So the bearing here, 321, or in this instance, let me turn off the watch list too. There we go. Yeah, you have the bearing in degrees here, but there isn't a compass rose. That's a great suggestion. I can do that.
Yeah, and I'm debating whether it'd be better to do it as the ground mark compass rose, or actually associating with that your north, south, east, west that you already have in place.
Yeah, this is a background graphic, which is cool, but I don't know how accurate it would be. I think actually drawing a compass rose would be super cool. So I think I'll do that. I think I'll add that to the ground geometry, and then probably we'll figure out a way maybe to do it at the aircraft elevation level to kind of just give you some real easy references based on your location. That's a great suggestion. Jack and Jeff, you get points for that one today. Right on. Good job, guys. Awesome. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's really cool. All right, I gotta make a note of that. That's a good one. I gotta tell you, I love when you guys give suggestions because, so many of the new features were inspired by or direct questions asked from that. Not unlike the category list. In the auxiliary button stack, you've got this next to your watch list, and you've got favorite locations here, which you can dial in. You've got a type and category list panel. So the type is obviously the aircraft, type code. And then, but they all kind of roll up into these 10 basic categories, light, small, large, heavy, fast movers, unmanned, etc. And so now you can open up the category list, click on just that type, and then you can look at, filter for just that classification of aircraft, category rather, of aircraft. Oh, we got a Q9 up. That's interesting. All right. So you'll also notice once I've loaded the database, then there's an additional pop-out panel of the owner-operator underneath the aircraft telemetry, if that is in anyone's interest. Yeah, cool. So great suggestion. Compass rose or compass, compass wheel kind of thing. Overlay.
Since you just pulled up a UAV, I know the FAA is requiring that RC radio controlled pilots above a certain weight have easy ID or an ID module on board. Is that going to be picked up on these?
So the great question. I've been thinking about this kind of thing a lot. It all depends on what standard they sort of settle on. This unique identifier for drones is separate from the ADSB. So I think what would be necessary is an entirely another level or layer of the feeding that's going to pick up that transponder. And from what I understand, that's a Wi-Fi signal, right?
Yes.
It's not Bluetooth. So the range is crap compared to ADSB,
Yes.
right? So you're going to need a gajillion feeders.
And the weight isn't that really all that much. So, the weight requirement. So basically, if you have something that has a decent battery in it, it's part of that. You have to have it.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
going to be a lot of small aircraft, which would be really cool to track. But you're right, the range is small.
Yeah. So I've done a little bit of work on that from a different kind of perspective. There's a platform called DroneSense, which law enforcement use for their drone operators. It's a way to have secured video feeds that you can share with others, and they can tap into the link and watch that kind of stuff. At any point, they have a way, if you're part of their system, to get the telemetry of the drone, right? So if you have that, I had a customer, a New York County emergency management operator. He was a sort of a fleet manager. I built them a little widget. It's actually this little icon there. So if they have the DroneSense enabled and they bought that plugin and all that stuff, then you can see the position of the drone inside of SkyGlass. And the cool part there, again, this was sort of an Overwatch thing. You can easily spin up a little 5-mile radius and then have, really good, kind of moving towards like, are they licensed for BLOS, for beyond line of sight? And if they are, then they're going to need this kind of situational awareness. So there's a little bit of that. I'm still exploring like what drone manufacturers or platforms I can pull the telemetry data from. Once that's done, be very easy. We can pull it right into SkyGlass, no problem.
A case in point.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, and there's a case in point too. Sorry, I kind of interrupted. I was waiting for the trail off on that, but like in my area. So I also amateur radio operator, so I monitor radio traffic and stuff too. So it's neat. It would be nice to be able to identify if that drone that's flying overhead is the one that belongs to the the local police department or sheriff versus someone who's just flying around trying to look at my window. So that's just a kind of a case in point there. So
yeah,
if it's a local police force, I'm not too worried about it, right? If it's someone else, it's like,
I think that would be the other way to approach this is to reverse engineer the unique identifier sort of feed. I know that there is an app that is open source on Android, I think, that you can kind of like, it'll pull from your Wi-Fi and just kind of scan that local area. I took a kind of a cursory look at that. I didn't have time to really dig into it. But if anybody's got some, some experience with that or some, coding skills, be totally open to kind of looking at that. I've not done anything with Wi-Fi, level feed kind of stuff, but that would be the other approach is just your antenna, what it's picking up and then render that. You'd have to obviously be very, very tight radius. But yeah, it's all possible for sure.
So you can do a plug-in to feed from your local hardware to render in the SkyGlass view.
Yeah, on your local machine. Yeah, yeah. So there actually is a way, if you're a feeder, you can display just your feed in SkyGlass and not pull from
so very similar.
Yeah. So it'd be kind of doing the same thing. Yeah. All possible for sure.
I'm seeing 4 drone scanner modules for iOS at least. So.
Yeah. Maybe that technology has moved forward a little bit. Maybe it's a little bit more accessible. So I'm going to stop my share, just so we can go full screens here. And let's see here, participants. Where's my video? Anyway, there it is. Cool. View. Great. Any other questions? This has been a great session. Really enjoyed this. Thank you. Last week was a little rough. My first time back in like 8 months or something giving a training, and I felt rusty. This one went off a little bit better. Hopefully the audio quality is going to be nice and tight, so I'll be able to share this without a problem. Excellent.
Sounds
So
good
I
so
had-
far.
We talked a couple weeks ago, and you helped me get this thing lined up, and we had to uninstall and reinstall it several times. And I was just kind of wondering, we did the beta version of that 2.1. It wasn't really working very good on my computer. You think you got the bugs worked out now, where if I install it again, I guess it'll work this time, or should I just leave this thing alone the way it is right now?
So I'd love to do this with you in person.
Okay.
Let's do another team viewer session. I'm happy to do that. I think ultimately you will want to get the next version. You may want to wait until Tuesday or Wednesday once I've rolled it out on Monday. Yeah, let's get you dialed in. It's so much faster. The speed gains alone, it's like 3 times as fast to load traffic, and thus you can load, another 50% more than you had before, kind of a thing from 1.6 and 2.0. So yeah, but grab with me. I'd love to just sort of be there, make sure that it goes off well, and be able to troubleshoot in real time
Sure.
with you. So
Right.
happy to do a team viewer session with you. Yeah, and that really goes for anybody. If you get stuck, if you're hurting, find me on the website. We can do a quick team viewer session. It's so much easier for me to get eyes on and really troubleshoot what's going on with you. And I get a lot from that, actually. I love to see how people are using it. That's the best way for me to really sort of iron out or identify the pain points in the software, and then work to make those better. So anyway,
Sounds
cool.
good.
Awesome. Pilot Dude, you're very welcome. Good to have you here. Great, guys. Okay, well, if there isn't any other questions, I'll wrap it there. So happy for everyone to be here. Again, you can find all the links to social and Discord and Patreon as well on the bottom of the webpage. Again, final word on, they're going to be the deeper discounts tonight and tomorrow, and then Monday they're going to drop to sort of the release discount level. That'll probably go for 3 weeks or a month, and then those will close out. But hope you all got a lot out of today. Please leave any comments if you'd like in the chat window, and we will see you next time. Stay frosty, stay sharp, and stay
All right,
tuned.
bye.
All right, take care, everyone. Thanks so much. Cheers.